Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Deadhead Cannabis Show. This is Jim Marty reporting in from sunny Southern California. I have my partner up in nice and cold Chicago area, Larry Mishkin. How you doing, Larry?
Well, Jim, I was doing just fine until you reminded me how much colder it is here than where you're at right now.
Well, it's been chilly here in LA, 50s. People are walking around in their booties and little ski jackets. And it's not, for me, being from Colorado, this feels just fine to me. But I say right now it's about 60.
Yeah, they don't know what cold is out there.
Right. But I'm very excited. I'm on my way to the forum. I'm in my Lyft ride right now, getting out of the car here in a few minutes at the LA Forum, which I've never seen a show at. So I'm really looking forward to tonight's Dead & Company show. Yeah,
it's a great place. The fabulous Forum, the Lakers played there forever. The Los Angeles Kings used to play there. They had many a solid Grateful Dead show there over the years. It was always a very popular place. And I love how they kind of go back and revisit some of these, going back to these old venues again and, going back to this one. And it just brings back, all the happy memories of people who saw the Dead out there, who knows how many times, or, whatever great event they saw in the fabulous Forum. And it's a perfect place to go see Dead & Company.
Yes. Excellent. Looking forward to it. I'll be broadcasting part of the show in the next few minutes from Shakedown Street. So look at that. But the cannabis news this week is that the cultivation licenses were announced in Missouri, and there was over 500 applicants for 60 licenses that were awarded. I'm happy to say one of our clients did get some of the licenses, so we'll have some work in 2020 in Missouri.
Congratulations. Very exciting. Yes, they've been doing the announcing of all of that. The list came out. I know everybody's been running over and checking it twice. And on this end, one of the things that I found a little bit surprising was that it looked like a lot of the big multi-state operators got shut out. A couple of them from Chicago that have typically done well in other locations did not get licenses down there. And I'm not sure if that was a conscious effort by Missouri to keep some of the big boys out, or whether we had other people who just came up with better applications. But either way, and not trying to diss the big guys by any means, but I think it's kind of nice to have a program like that where it's more individuals and it's more people who are really trying to go out there and create something. And we'll see. Maybe a year from now, we'll all be wishing that they had some of the big boys there. But I think for right now, for Missouri to get started, that's a great way. And of course, this is just cultivation, right? The processing and the dispensary licenses get announced in January, one more towards the beginning, and I think dispensaries are more towards the end. So obviously there's still a lot more opportunities for people out there who have applied in Missouri to be able to get their licenses. I have family and friends in Missouri, and I can tell you, if you'll pardon the pun, that it's quite the buzz down there right now. Everybody's very, very excited about it. And, people are all waiting to see what it's going to be, how it's going to work. This is Missouri, for God's sakes. These people are like, oh, marijuana, okay. But it is exciting, and that's great news about your client.
Yes, and I'm fine with the large out-of-state operators not coming in. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors there. We've seen the disaster on the Canadian Stock Exchange this past 6 months. So, big doesn't always mean better, and for Missouri to start its program organically, I think also agree with you, Larry, that's a good thing.
Absolutely. And, of course, while all that's going down, we here in Chicago are busy enjoying our holidays by sitting at our desks and cranking out applications. The state of Illinois did us no favor by making the deadline January 2nd, because, as we all know, people will expand out to whatever amount of time they have. So I got to work Christmas Eve. I got to work Christmas Day. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are on tap as we process all of these applications and get them on file. And the only thing I can complain about any of it is that it may cause me to miss the Michigan Wolverines bowl game on New Year's Day, which is kind of a religious obligation for me, even though they're going to get killed by Alabama. But we're very excited about it, and I love having all of this work. Everybody's saying to me, God, you're so busy, and I get to quote my father every now and then and say it's better than the alternative, and the timing may not be perfect, but that's okay, because it's still great billable hours for me. It's great opportunity for the clients. And there's just a whole host of parties that some of the dispensaries and some of the organizations are all planning here for New Year's Day, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And, it's kind of fun. You can get to go through all the listings and pick out the one that looks like it might be the funnest or the best, and it's going to be a new world here.
Well, don't feel lonely. I also worked a little bit every day here, even on Christmas Day, because we have a lot of time-sensitive work on our desk, too. So, yeah, it's a very exciting time in the cannabis industry. There's so much going on. Are they still predicting some big shortages of flower when Illinois opens up on New Year's Day?
You know, I've got to tell you, Jim, I'm chuckling because, you know, sometimes Illinois just can't help from being Illinois. You know, there's a regular medical dispensary that I go to, and for the last 2 months, they've had horrible shortages. You know, very, very limited selections of flower and concentrates and things like that. And although nobody will really tell you, that the general answer you get is that, you know, the pipeline is being squeezed a little bit because everybody's trying to conserve and make sure they have enough for adult use. Where the rub comes in Illinois is that Illinois is one of the few states with a statute that actually says that the cultivators have to keep a reasonable amount of supply available for the medical dispensaries. And so, you know, of course, the idea is, well, what's going to happen there? Well, one of the state legislators got on and said, well, we know there's going to be shortages, but that's happened in every state. To me, that's a little bit of a cop-out answer, right? I mean, either you have a commitment to your medical patients or you don't. If we're going to really believe that this is medicine and not just a wink to get to adult use, then like any medicine, you need to make it available for those people who need it. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see, you know, what happens to supply here over the next month or two, and what the pushback might potentially be, depending on how all that goes down.
Yes. Well, I went to a dispensary here in Los Angeles today, and there was no shortage. They had probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 dozen strains and plenty of extracts and vape pens and gummies and edibles of all kinds. So big selection in a very tiny little store. But the prices were quite a bit higher than Colorado. No, really almost twice. 1 gram joints were $13, $14. Well, you can usually get one of those under 10 in Colorado.
Yes.
And the girl didn't quite understand my question. I always tell them I'm in the cannabis industry and leave off a business card. And I said, so are those prices pre-tax? And she said, no, they're post-tax. And I said, oh, you mean the tax is included? She goes, no, the tax is extra. And I said, well, in my world, that's pre-tax $13. Post-tax is like $16 because the tax at the cash register, all in local and California, including the additional excise tax, is 35% at the cash register. So your $13 joint is more like $16, $17. However, since it was our first visit, we got 15% off.
Nice.
So anyway, very nice, plenty of selection, excellent quality. Ace were going for about, they had some Ace for 50, they had some Ace for 30, but mostly Ace for 50 of some very fine. A lot of it was outdoor California bud. It was really pretty.
That's beautiful stuff.
I have another story about Los Angeles too.
Yeah.
I had a meeting at Starbucks today with one of my LA clients, and he just got awarded some licenses. He was awarded a cultivation, production, and a delivery license.
Wow. And
delivery is a pretty good deal in California because then you can just buy and sell. He said, he'll go out to farms, buy 100 pounds and then place them at dispensaries in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
But what was interesting is I know they have a social justice program in Illinois. They have one here in Los Angeles too. And he feels like he was lucky to get his licenses. He feels like his prior felony conviction got him across the finish line. Isn't that funny?
Jim, I got to tell you, that's what everybody is laughing about here, right? Because in Illinois, the 2 ways to qualify for social equity are either, one, you live in a neighborhood that was disproportionately affected by the war on drugs, or 2, you yourself were a victim of the war on drugs. And that the way that is defined is if you were not even convicted, if you were arrested for any one of the cannabis crimes that are now available for expungements. That means any misdemeanor and up to a class 4 felony, as long as there's no violence involved. So people are coming back and saying, I spent my whole life trying to get this stupid conviction off my record, and now it's going to be my golden ticket.
Ain't life strange, huh?
It is. It goes from being a scarlet letter to a badge of honor, just like that. And, yeah, it's very, very interesting to see, and and watch how everybody kind of scrambles around to try to fill in those gaps and everything like that. But what you said before about the 35% excise tax is really fascinating to me, because California has had a lot of problems with their adult use. Their black market is thriving, and everything I've read suggests it's because they slap such a huge excise tax on top of it that they basically price the legal market right out of the market.
Yeah, that's interesting. You should say that. I had a conversation with a gentleman in San Francisco a month or so ago when I was up there, and I was telling him that our company, Bridge West, has kind of shied away from clients in the California market because it is so much still black market. And he said, yeah. He goes, but figure this. We're $9-10 billion total market, and right now it's $3 billion is legal and $6 billion is black market. He goes, over the next 5 years, that's going to reverse. And in 5 years, it'll be $6 or $7 billion legal market, and we'll beat the black market down to $3 billion. So that's a $9 billion shift in the market that I think my company would be very excited to be part of.
For sure. Oh, yeah. Listen, that'll be wonderful for all of us, right? It's if they can make that shift over and really put it into a situation where the legal market is really thriving. And I don't have anything against the black market. It took care of all of us for years. But at some point, if we're going to do this the right way, everybody needs to be incentivized to shop at the dispensaries and, to buy it that way. And this actually, Jim, leads into another really good point that you and I have been following all along, and that's the vaping crisis, right? Because what you and I have been saying all along is this is probably a bad batch. There's, it's not formal. It didn't come through the dispensaries. It was all black market, and now they've pretty much come out and confirmed that it was the vitamin E acetate that was used to liquefy the THC oil and to keep it from clogging up. That they think they're pinpointing that as the cause of all of these vaping-related illnesses. What did we learn from that? Number one, it wasn't the THC like everybody wanted to say at first. And that number two, if you buy legally through products that have been tested and, inspected and all of that, you're much better off than if you go out to the black market and buy. And hopefully that kind of situation will be another reason to channel people to go into the regular market than to continue to use their black market connections.
Right. Well, I might be hearing a little background noise because I'm out of the car now and headed for the Shakedown Street outside the Forum. I'm looking right at the new football stadium that's being built.
Oh, nice. That's supposed to be beautiful out there, that new football stadium.
Yes, I'll send in a picture.
Please. So how's the crowd out there? You get a lot of people?
Looks like they're just starting to get assembled. I'll know in a few minutes as we head over there.
Excellent. Well, as anybody who's ever been to a Grateful Dead show knows, there's a right way and a wrong way to go to the show. That's just my own personal opinion, of course, but the wrong way is when you go running in right at the last minute and you can barely get to your seat in enough time. The right way is when you get out there 2 hours early and you get to walk around and you get to walk through Shakedown Street and the mall and see all of the like-minded people out there, and that's where you meet people, where you see things, where you learn things. It's a wonderful experience of group community coming together.
Yes, we've got a couple hours here before we go in, so we'll be able to check out all the vending and the people and the fun.
And I have to tell you, it's like anything else. You can see the Dead anywhere, and I have seen them everywhere, but there's really something special about seeing them in California. It's kind of like you just sense their home. This is their environment. These are their people. This is the place to be. It's like, this is, it's nothing new in California. It's just another day going to see the Grateful Dead. Whereas, they come into some cities in the Midwest and the newspapers, banner had Grateful Dead coming to town, and everybody, hey, California is the way to do it, man. I'm a big fan of California Grateful Dead shows.
Yes, me too. I've seen many shows here, including New Year's shows in San Francisco. And way back in 1980, I saw them at the S Festival with Fleetwood Mac and Jackson Browne and Jimmy Buffett. It was way out in the desert, out east of LA. I'm trying to think of the town, but that was
the Dead. Do you remember the Dead? They not only played at that festival, they played at like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, yeah, it was. It was like early morning. broad daylight. That was a kick.
Yeah, right. Not necessarily the time you'd want to see them, but, look, it's all part of the festival. You catch them when you catch them.
I want to take a quick break to thank you for listening to today's show. As the leading cannabis podcast network, we're constantly adding new cannabis podcasts to support our industry's growth. And that's why we're so excited to announce our newest podcast, The Cannabis Breakout. The show is about the thousands of Americans who remain in prison for violating cannabis laws that have long since been overturned. The Cannabis Breakout gives cannabis political prisoners a voice. If you're a former cannabis prisoner or have a loved one who is a cannabis prisoner, we want to share your story. Please go to MJBulls.com and sign up to be a guest.
Speaking of New Year's shows, the other thing you and I have been talking about is that our other favorite jam band, Phish, is getting ready on Saturday night to launch into their traditional 4-night New Year's run at Madison Square Garden in New York, based on their last tour, which more or less was a recreation of the Island tour from the late 1990s, going to Providence and Long Island, Nassau. I heard great things about the shows. Trey is killing it. They played 8 nights, I think, and didn't repeat a song once. That's the kind of thing you like when you go to see a jam band, right? You're going to see variety. You're going to see everything. And listen, believe me, if I wasn't up to my eyeballs in applications, I think I'd either be in California seeing the Dead or in New York seeing Phish.
Yeah, a lot of good shows coming up. That reminds me, I just checked with my sons who are big Phish fans, and I guess there's a controversy between Billy Joel and Phish on who's had the most shows at Madison Square Garden, and my sons tell me Billy Joel still has the lead on that.
Yes, and don't forget when they did the Baker's Dozen shows a couple of years ago, that story came out that Phish was going to be challenging Billy Joel's record. Apparently he plays a bunch of shows there every year himself. But Billy Joel's quote at the time in response to that was, Phish, they're just a cover band. And so in response to that, Phish went out and played 13 shows at Madison Square Garden and never repeated a song. And then, like we said, they just did it on this last tour, which just goes to show, I think, that, not only are they maturing as a band, but as they, consistently come out with more and more material, it just expands their repertoire that much more and gives them the flexibility to be able to play all those shows and not have to double dip.
I listened to the Met show in Philadelphia that was only 4,000 or 5,000 people, the smallest shows Phish has done in a long time, and they really are playing really well.
Yep, they're playing great. My son is going to be out in New York with his crew and his fiance. They're all excited to get out there and to see this. And you know what? I'm very, very happy for him, because I have to tell you, Jim, I'm sure you were probably the same way. In the early to mid 1980s, New Year's would roll around, and where else would you want to be except at a Grateful Dead show? It was never a very difficult decision for me. The New Year's Eve tends to typically be, overrated, and we all wind up somewhere drinking champagne and, doing whatever. But to be, at a Dead show all night, and then as you roll into the new year, they're cranking into a good Sugar Magnolia or whatever they're playing that night. That's pretty much it in my mind. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, but Shakedown Street looks great. I'll send some pictures in. It's a good, long, and big Shakedown Street. Lots of vending going on, hemp hats and clothing and all kinds of Grateful Dead paraphernalia.
Check out those hemp hats, because a few years ago, the Dead were selling Terrapin Station hemp hats, and when they showed up, the tag on the inside of the hat said, 100% pure hemp, do not smoke this hat. And to me, that was as funny as you get.
I'll look forward to doing this again tomorrow, doing a bit of a review of the show. Very nice talking to you, Larry. Larry, I'll let you sign us out.
Jim, great to hear from you today. Enjoy your show out there. We'll all be very anxious to hear how it goes. And to all of our listeners, nice talking to all of you. And we'll look forward to speaking again to you soon. Thanks, and have a good day.